I'm much better now that the ladies are back from space.
Thank you for having me. What were they up there, 10 minutes?
Well, it was very profound. I don't know if you've seen Katy Perry talk about it, but she's basically a guru now.
Baby, Katy Perry went to space and came back feeling like the Dalai Lama in a designer jumpsuit. But hold up. This was a no Apollo mission, honey. This was 11 minutes of floatin in a billionaire soda can, and somehow it turned into a full-blown feminist monologue, complete with daisies, dirt kissing, and Oprah crying on cue. Yes, really. Katy called it a life-altering journey. The media called it history. But the internet? Baby, the internet called it what it was. A glitter-drenched PR stunt that backfired like a busted bottle rocket. And let me tell you, Joe Rogan didn't just criticize her. He scalped her softly, calmly, like he was slicing through a vegan birthday cake labeled delusion. Meanwhile, Martha Stewart slid in quietly, served elegance with a side of petty, and ended the conversation without saying a single messy word. So, how did an 11-minute elevator ride to orbit become the biggest celebrity roast of the year? Why is everyone from Twitter trolls to actual astronauts calling this the flop of the decade? Oh baby, buckle up. Because Katy may have gone to space, but it was her reputation that never came back down. Let's start with the launch, literally. Katy Perry, queen of glitter and sequins, joined what was hyped as a historic all-female flight aboard Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rocket. Now, that might sound like a major move for womankind, but let's not get it twisted, baby. This wasn't a scientific expedition. It was a branded brunch in zero gravity. Cameras were rolling, Oprah was weeping, and Katy? Sis landed, dropped to her knees like she just stormed the beaches of Normandy, and kissed the Texas dirt like it owed her money. She said it was a spiritual awakening. Said it changed her life. Even called it the second most powerful experience she's ever had, right after giving birth. Now, I ain't one to knock a sister's journey, but girl, this wasn't a mission. It was a luxury ride with vibes, lip gloss, and metaphors. No experiments, no discoveries, no science, just 11 minutes of floatin and flexin'. The press called it empowering. Social media called it embarrassing. Because what could have been a quiet flex for women in STEM became a floating photo op with flower props and Instagram captions. And the real kicker? They branded this thing like it was Apollo 13. But baby, it was Six Flags in a spacesuit. Now let's talk facts, baby, not feelings. The moment Katy floated her eyelash extensions into orbit, the real astronaut said, ma'am, no. Because here's the tea. This mission was a pre-scheduled, autopilot-powered luxury joyride. That capsule? It flew itself. Katy didn't push a button and flip a switch, or even fake a NASA lingo soundbite. She just floated, in a jumpsuit, with a daisy. And then the FAA stepped in like a disappointed teacher, sliding the receipts across the table. According to them, you don't get to call yourself an astronaut unless you perform safety-critical tasks during the flight. Translation, none of the ladies on board earned that title. Not Katy, not Gail, not Bezos' fiancée, Lauren Sanchez. The internet was ready. Space tourists in Gucci trended for hours. People started calling it a cosmic Uber ride. And baby, the memes? Savage. They said, she went to orbit with more props than purpose. Because while real astronauts are training, risking their lives, and actually doing something up there, Katy was staging angles, giving TED Talk energy, and serving zero gravity Simonette realness. She said she felt connected to Earth. Girl, so do I when I pay rent. You don't need a $28 million spaceship to feel feelings. What she gave us was spiritual cosplay. And once the astronaut title got snatched, that fake legacy started unraveling real fast. Phew, now this is where it gets juicy. See, this wasn't just a joyride, it was a rebrand in orbit. Katy Perry didn't just launch into space, she launched an entire persona. One minute she's a pop star whose last 2 albums flopped harder than a soggy pancake. And the next she's an ethereal goddess of the cosmos, whispering about healing and higher vibrations like she's Deepak Chopra in a wig. It wasn't empowerment, it was content. Every camera angle, perfect. Every quote, branded. Every gesture, PR approved. Baby, she didn't float, she marketed. And when she said things like this flight made me whole, the public didn't feel inspired, they felt played. Even her flower game was strategic. She brought a literal daisy on board. Why? Symbolism. Resilience. You know, the usual soft-focused hallmark energy. But girl, that daisy didn't bloom in space. It wilted the second it hit the atmosphere. Just like the public's patience. People saw through it instantly. This isn't a movement, one user wrote. It's a soft launch for Katy's next perfume line. Phew. The Take Up Space tagline wasn't uplifting, it was tone-deaf. Because while the rest of us are talking up space in line at the food bank, Katy's talking up orbital real estate to promote good vibes and eye cream. This wasn't a comeback. It was a cosmic commercial. And baby, the audience changed the channel real quick. Now baby, let's talk Joe Rogan, the human buzzsaw in a flannel shirt. See, Joe didn't come in loud. He came in surgical. Sat down on his podcast with Tim Dillon, looked dead into the mic, and dissected this whole glitter-filled fiasco with the calm confusion of a man watching a goldfish do calculus. He asked the question that slapped the gloss right off the PR plan. What were her findings? Phew, that wasn't shade. That was a meteor strike. He didn't scream. He didn't drag. He analyzed, which somehow made it hurt more. Joe compared Katy's flower moment to a dead daisy clipped from its roots. He said she didn't bring life into space. She brought a funeral bouquet. And then he brought up real astronauts. The ones who train, sweat, and face death every time they launch. Meanwhile, Katy floated like a helium balloon in a designer jumpsuit and called it a revolution. Tim Dillon didn't even blink, just nodded, because at that point, the delusion was so thick you needed a machete just to breathe. Joe didn't call her a fraud. He didn't have to. It was in his eyebrows. The tone, the body language, it was all giving girl, be serious. That podcast clip went viral overnight. People clipped it, memed it, layered it with footage of Katy kissing dirt like she came back from Mars. And suddenly, this space trip wasn't about empowerment anymore. It was about delusion in zero gravity. Now, while Katy was busy floatin with daisies and delivering monologues like she just came back from Narnia, someone else entered the chat. Quietly, gracefully, ruthlessly. Martha, freakin', Stewart. Sis didn't need a press tour. She didn't need a daisy. She didn't even need a hashtag. Martha just posted a throwback clip from 2007 of herself casually floating in a zero-gravity flight like it was a Pilates class. And baby, the drag was so smooth. It came with white linen and a sprig of rosemary. No speeches, no sobbing, no self-declared astronaut title. Just vibes, restraint, and flexing on a cosmic level. And the internet? They knew what time it was. That post didn't whisper shade. It delivered it like a velvet sledgehammer. Users lit up. Glamour is an innovation. She did it better 17 years ago. Float without flexing. That's icon behavior. Compared to Katy's weepy TED Talk energy, Martha's silence was lethal. This wasn't a girl boss stunt. This was legacy. And that contrast? Devastating. While Katy was trying to rebrand herself as some glitter-dusted astronaut poet, Martha just reminded us that she did the exact same thing and didn't feel the need to turn it into a two-part documentary. And honey, when Martha throws shade, it's compostable, clean, sharp, reusable, and it leaves no survivors. Once the cracks started showing, baby, the internet kicked that door wide open. Because nothing says career derailment like a full-blown meme avalanche. It started with a tweet, 4 little words from Wendy's official account. Can we send her back? That wasn't just a roast. That was a cultural scalping served hot with a side of curly fries. Next thing you know, Katy's dirt kissing photo was pasted into Warzone edits, fake Disney posters, and sci-fi memes. She got photoshopped into Alien vs. Predator. TikToks popped up showing her floating with VIP club audio. People were even slapping astronaut girly crew on pics of girls drinking Starbucks in matching leggings. And just when it couldn't get any worse, Amy Schumer jumped in. Posted a joke about being added to the mission last minute because she had a spacesuit in her purse. And baby, folks believed her for a second. Because that's how unserious the whole thing looked by now. Then came the real fatal blow. The only thing orbiting Earth was their egos. That line ripped through social media like a solar flare. This wasn't Katy Perry's inspirational comeback. This was America's next top meme format. And once the people turn you into content, sweetie, you don't get to steer the narrative anymore. Now, let's talk about the message, because it was supposed to be empowerment. It was supposed to be history. But baby, what it really was feminism. That's right, feminism mixed with delusion and wrapped in glitter glue. Where the goal ain't equality, it's applause. Where you float for 11 minutes, drop a few metaphors, and walk away wearing a crown labeled icon without ever doing the work. Katy and her crew framed this as women making space, literally. But real women in science, in tech, in actual astronaut training, they weren't inspired. They were insulted. Because while they're fighting for grants and visibility, Katy's in a billionaire's toy capsule talking about feeling the earth breathe. Lauren Sanchez, partner to the world's richest man, floated through a luxury rocket and said, "We're all in this together." Girl, we can't even afford eggs. You don't get to cosplay as a revolutionary while floating in zero gravity wearing Oscar de la Renta. And that's the issue. When the packaging is louder than the purpose, people see it. When empowerment is used as a filter for a photo shoot instead of actual change, people call it out. The mission didn't make history. It exposed the gap between performance and progress. And baby, the internet ain't interested in your soft-focused feminist fantasy when it's wrapped in billionaire dollars and Instagram captions. So let's keep it real, baby. Katy Perry went to space, but it was her image that crash-landed. She tried to gift us inspiration, but the world saw a brand roll out in orbit. A floating TED Talk wrapped in daisy metaphors, delivered with the kind of PR polish that screams, "My album's not selling." And honey, the public? They didn't feel uplifted, they felt played. Joe Rogan clocked the nonsense with one line. Martha Stewart dragged her with a whisper. And the internet? Oh, the internet scorched it all into meme history. They weren't laughing at women in space. They were laughing at the idea that a billionaire-sponsored joyride could be passed off as empowerment. That a 10-minute autopilot trip deserved the same respect as real astronauts who risk everything. And the message? We're all in this together. Baby, not when your seat costs more than most folks make in a year. At the end of the day, Katy didn't redefine womanhood. She reminded us what happens when privilege tries to wear purpose like a costume. You can't float your way into legacy. You gotta earn it. And in this case, the internet gave her a one-way ticket back to Earth with a landing that was anything but soft. Thanks for supporting the Gossip Wire. If you made it this far in the video, make sure to like and subscribe for more of the hottest celebrity news online.